Hello, ladies and gentlemen out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to Race 25 of Season 10 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I am Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the NAPA Auto Parts 400 here at Oswego Speedway. Another dirt track happening yet again this season, but one of the best dirt tracks we go to every year. But I am not alone for this one. I am joined by currently 7th in the standings, part of probably the best team in the series right now, Shadow Cult Racing Team. Please welcome the driver of the number 40, Riley Henry.
Thanks for having me again, Levi. I'm very excited for this race. I've always loved Oswego.
Absolutely, and hopefully we could see a much more competitive race here this time around than we saw back in All-Star Break. While fair competition, it did kind of become a bit boring towards the end because nobody could really catch the leader, but maybe with a bigger field, we'll see some craziness happen, and maybe even some wrecks. You never really know what can happen here at Oswego, but we're getting set for 60 laps of racing here, so this is going to be a fun one. But before we get into everything, and before we get to the typical stuff, Riley, I just wanted to talk to you about how your season has been. Talk about a huge turnaround from Season 9 where you struggled to make races, came close to a couple of different wins. Here we are this season. You missed one race in the beginning of the year. Now all of a sudden, 7th in points, finally getting your first win. How can you best describe this season in comparison to Season 9?
It's pretty unbelievable how much we've grown as a team, and I just expect pretty great things ahead of us.
And not to mention, you're not that far off from the championship. Considered with the point system, you're pretty much about roughly a race and a half worth of points back. So there's still plenty of time for things to really change on a whim. And speaking of things changing on a whim in the points, quick run through of the top 10 in the standings. After picking up win number 2 back at, oh boy, I'm trying to remember, Sawmill this past Friday, James Qualls took the points lead back, and he leads by 50 points over Michael Norman, 65 over Jay Jefferson, 120 over Kyle Matthews, 200 over Dylan Poteet, 285 over William Brock, 310 over both Riley Henry and Laney Marino, 330 over Lisa Nelson, and 360 over Charles Belding. But with that said, quick run through of the top 10 in the starting lineup. Matt McIntyre getting his first pole of the season, with Seth Cole starting next to him in second. Row 2, we have Daniel DK and Dylan Poteet. Row 3, Carson Gum, Kyle Matthews. Row 4, Scott Groverston, William Brock. And then row 5, Alyssa Drayson and Quentin Moore. Let's get the command to fire engines for the NAPA Auto Parts 400 at Oswego.
Drivers, start your engines!
Well, there was the command, and all 40 drivers going to be rolling around the track at any moment for the pace lap. Any quick predictions for this race, Riley, as far as a winner?
I think Matt McIntyre, from what we saw in qualifying, has a pretty strong car, so I expect him to be up front pretty much the whole race. Carson Gum also surprised me in practice, so I expect him to be up there too.
Yeah, and as far as a quick pick for me, I'm going with that driver starting third in that 66 DK Army Ford, Daniel DK, because he is hungry to finally get his first career win. But the pace car is in pit road. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. By a hair, Matt McIntyre led that first lap, but now Daniel DK feels it's go time to go up to the front and try and pull away from the field in hopes that he can finally get his first career win in the Marvel Studios Cup Series. And like I talked about during the Sawmill race, Up until the Sawmill race, DK was really falling back in the standings, because like in the first 15, 16 races, he was top 5, top 10 all season long. Then suddenly, he hit a brick wall until the Sawmill race, where he came through with a great finish and moved back up into the top 20 in points. And he's actually not too far behind the top 10 in points. In fact, 85 points out of 10th, so he could easily get back into the top 10 in the standings with a good run or even a win here tonight. And he's slowly pulling away from Matt McIntyre and everybody else. But look at this hornet's nest of cars battling for third. Yeah, Dylan Jacobs taking the spot over Riley Henry, making it 3 wide on the bottom underneath of Carson Gum and teammate Scott Groverston. Any one of these guys could easily get up to the 66 and make a run for it. It's just the 66 not having to worry about drivers dive bombing him, and that's how he's able to maintain a small lead like that.
So far, we got a pretty racy race on our hands. We got pretty much 2 wide behind the 66, and all back through the field.
And look at the prevalence of the Shadow Cult Racing drivers up here in this top 10, with Riley, Jordan, Dylan, Scott. The only one up here missing is Lindsay Snyder. In fact, let me see where she is. And also Jay Jefferson. There's Jefferson back around mid-pack. Oh, they were 4 wide for a second back here.
Oh.
I don't know how they made it work. And then there's Lindsay all the way back in 37th according to scoring. But back up at the front of the field, yeah, DK still not really able to pull away to a massive margin. Less than a second, in fact, as teammates battling for second. 3 of them to be exact. Jordan Forbes, Riley Henry, and Dylan Jacobs. But Forbes currently now has that second spot. Now he's looking to try and run down that 66 of DK for the race lead. In fact, Jordan Forbes had just run the fastest lap of the race at 21.786, 3 thousandths faster than Mitchell Collins in the 22, in which, let me see where that 22 is in vicinity on the racetrack. There he is, just outside the top 10. Now he's probably going to get into the top 10, so he's driving the wheels out of that Pennzoil Dodge. But meanwhile, DK's lead he had is starting to go away as Jordan Forbes reeling in the 66 heavily as he continues to just light up the charts lap time-wise, and just went even faster right there, 21.659.
That is a bad fast car he has.
And he's pretty much right there to the back bumper of Daniel DK, so we could see a battle for the lead spew up momentarily, and who knows if they battle for long enough, could help these guys like Mr. Riley Henry and Mr. Dylan Jacobs, Mr. Matt McIntyre, Mr. Quinton Moore, among others, to make a run for it up here at the front. But Forbes, kind of right now, maybe playing a bit of possum, although he got really tight on corner entry right there in turn 3. That's going to cost him a bit of time.
Dylan Jacobs makes the move on the 40 car and should be able to pass him going into this turn.
Yeah, and then possibly clear him here off of 2. But yeah, look at that. Shadow Call Racing and currently scored in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 9th as far as the higher runners of the team. Meanwhile, back up here, Jordan Forbes managed to gain that ground back, and he almost dove to the inside off of 4. Now he's going to dive it to the inside here in turn 1, side by side between Forbes and DK for the lead. And it looks like Forbes clears DK to the lead, so Jordan Forbes now into the lead as he is looking for his 3rd win of the season and looking to rebound after he had a not so good run back at Sawmill and fell to 18th in standings. And he just continues to go fast, continuing to go faster, 21.598 that previous lap. He's just blazing a trail here in this field. As meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs now starting to reel in Daniel DK for second, and Riley Henry not too far behind. In fact, really everybody is pretty close to one another. It's just a matter of making your moves at the right place at the right time and making it stick and hoping the guy in front of you makes a colossal mistake. Meanwhile, DK trying to do the same strategy as the 39 of Forbes and just try and go out there and run qualifying laps in hopes of reeling in that 39 car. But it's quite dusty out here on the racetrack. And wow, Forbes almost matched his best lap, but just lost it by 9 thousandths right there. And in fact, as far as lap times go, up here amongst the top 5, fairly close apart from the 39. And now the margin of the lead has grown to 3/4 of a second between first and second place, as Dylan Jacobs slowly inching closer to that 66 to try and make it 1-2 for Shadow Call Racing right now, but still plenty of time for things to really change up here at Oswego. In fact, 41 laps to go. Long way to go.
Yes, sir.
As meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs just put up a pretty fast lap time. Although the fastest lap has now gone to Mitchell Collins, 21.508, and he's actually been picking his way through the field bit by bit up to the 6th spot currently.
Yeah, that 22 has been very consistent on lap time so far.
Yeah, and he's got 4th and 5th right there in front of him, Riley Henry and Quentin Moore. And Quentin Moore's been slowly picking his way through the field. He started 10th, currently up now to 4th, as Riley took that corner a little bit too high and gave room on the bottom for Mitchell Collins to now get into that spot. And how about Young Motorsports? 2 of the 3 drivers out of that team currently in the top 10, Mitchell Collins and Zachary Fitzwater. Now, Dylan Young in vicinity, not too far behind, last scored 13th, so solid runs going for the Young Motorsports crew. Meanwhile, the battle on for second. Dylan Jacobs trying to clear Daniel DK in hopes to make it 1-2 right now for the Shadow Call Racing team. And he clears DK, so it seems like DK's strong early run car is starting to fade out. And he's probably going to have to come up with a new plan if he's going to have any hope of winning this race, as Jordan Forbes, well, he did have a bigger lead, but now it's shrunk a little bit to about almost 1.1 even, as Dylan Jacobs really flying, and he actually tied Mitchell Collins' fastest lap. So that 41 is flying as well. And also, Jordan Forbes is about to approach lap traffic in the form of Rafael Fireblade. So this could actually be a help for drivers from second on back to get up there to the 39. But Mitchell Collins now up to 4th, as he might be a guy to beat in this race if he can keep on the momentum he's got going. He could easily be a threat to win this event. Currently 2 1/4 seconds back, but he's got 2nd and 3rd right there in front of him. And Jordan Forbes being stuck on the outside lane is really useful because everybody else was on a free lane in the bottom, but can they get around the 81 easily like the 39 couldn't? That's going to be a big question, but more traffic's going to be in the way before too long. Dylan Jacobs has no problem going by Rafael Fireblade, but now everybody from 3rd on back is going to be held up by the 81, but Dylan Jacobs now up to 2nd entirely and only 9/10 of a second back. But lap times, they are still just flying out there on the track. And as you can see, the fastest lap still held by Mitchell Collins and Dylan Jacobs. And speaking of Collins, now he takes 3rd from Daniel DK and Quentin Moore. So now Mitchell Collins less than 2 seconds behind. Now Jordan Forbes has Jessica Sheldon in sight, and this time goes to the bottom to try and get around. And I'm surprised we haven't had a caution come out in this entire race. You would have thought, you know, with a dirt track race, that there would be some chaos, but no, if anything, it's controlled chaos.
Yeah, they've done a very good job of driving clean around these lap cars so far.
Now Jordan Forbes getting held up by teammate Lindsey Snyder in that #1 Burger King Dodge. And at the same time, Dylan Jacobs getting held up by Jessica Sheldon, and that actually helped for Mitchell Collins to close the gap even further, not only on the second place, but to the leader as well. And, whoa, a little bit of contact between teammates, Snyder and Forbes. That's going to cost Forbes a little bit of time for sure. But now Dylan Jacobs has to go to the top side to get around the one car. And now also, this is going to be troublesome for the 39. You got lap cars battling in front of him. Lisa Nelson and William Brock, 2 drivers top 10 in the standings, currently in them bottom 5, no point zones. Not a good thing for them. And now Forbes getting held up on the outside, which is helping for Dylan Jacobs to close the gap, as he's pretty much there. He just needs to go to the inside, and he will get the lead. And there he goes, side by side for the top spot between teammates.
And they're both boxed in between these lap cars right here. This is very congested.
And now Mitchell Collins is going to end up closing the gap even further, and he's got his teammate, Zachary Fitzwater, following him. So it's Shadow Colt versus Young Motorsports now up here for possibly the win. And look at this, 3 wide even for the lead, as Collins tried to thread the needle in the middle, but Jacobs just has that stronger run on the bottom. Now Jacobs to the lead, and Dylan Jacobs trying to go for his second win of the season and get into the top 10 in points. As you want to talk about a huge turnaround from the first half of the season, that 41 struggled like crazy in the first half. Finally got confidence after he won a race. Now he's almost into the top 10. Could he be trying to go for a 3rd championship? That would be impressive, but right now he's got Mitchell Collins breathing down his neck as the 22 is here, but now the 22 getting boxed in on the top side. As it looks like the long run car that the 39 had is pretty much gone, and now... Oh, we got a caution! First caution of the night past the halfway point on lap 37. Looking around to see if there's any damaged cars. Oh, we got a couple.
Oh.
Lindsey Snyder and home state boy Jesse Turner with major damage. Wow, there must have been a big problem that happened for that to occur. But we're gonna be curious to see the replay of all of this. But Dylan Jacobs, currently your leader here at Oswego. But we're gonna take a look at a replay to find out what exactly brought the caution out for the first time tonight here in the NAPA Auto Parts 400. Well, this was around the 7th spot on the racetrack, and this is a battle going on between Riley Henry in the 40 and Jesse Turner in the 17. Lindsey Snyder, who's a lapped car, trying to let everybody go. But right here, you see the 17 tries to get in line behind the 1, just doesn't have her quite clear. Ends up getting into the 1, down into her teammate Riley Henry. And so far, they both keep it straight, but they end up being hooked together and just couldn't get off of one another. Then they're on to the lowest part of the track imaginable, and the 1 just still stuck to that 40. Ends up getting the 1 turned around back up in front of Jesse Turner, who takes a big crunch into the front end. And Jessica Sheldon, I don't know how she didn't get into anybody. And then right there, pretty good impacts, rear end first and the outside wall, sending them both airborne, but somehow they both managed to drive away from all this without further incident. But yes, just some miscommunication as far as real estate on the track amongst lead lap and lap down machines that ended up causing this whole mess. But luckily, I don't expect anybody to retire from the race. Maybe to 17 if the damage is too severe. But weirder things have happened in this series. So with that said, let's take you to the restart here at Oswego. Well, after that first caution, we don't have any cars out of the race. All 40 drivers still on track, but 34 on the lead lap as we got 6 lap cars. now that we got to deal with, but looks like, see if we're going to get the 1 to green signal, and yes, we will be getting back to racing with 19 to go, and this restart's going to be interesting because all the lap cars going to be on the inside of the lead lap cars, so this is going to be interesting. But quick run through of the top 20. Dylan Jacobs is your leader, second is Mitchell Collins, third is Zachary Fitzwater, fourth Jordan Forbes, fifth Quentin Moore, sixth is Daniel DK, 7th Riley Henry, 8th Charles Belding, 9th Kyle Matthews, 10th Cole Deaver, then Dylan Jacobs, Daniel Bouchard, Daniel Voiles, Matt McIntyre, Scott Groverston, Melissa Alexander, Keith Miller Jr., Caleb Kilburn, Michael Norman, Laney Marino, your top 20. Green flag is out, 19 to go here at Oswego, and like I said, this is going to be an interesting restart because of the 6 lap cars on the inside of the lead lap cars. But it looks like Jacobs going to go make it work on the top side to clear the lap traffic. But can everybody else do the same in hopes to run down that 41? Looks like Collins got through it pretty well, so now he can focus his attention on trying to run down the 41 because that 22, without question, the fastest car on the track. It's just been a matter of trying to pick his moments to make moves. And now he's closing in on that 41, and he's got his teammate Fitzwater kind of helping him out a little bit too. As the top 4 have now kind of broken away from everyone else, as the rest of the top 5, top 10 are boxed in by these lap cars, so that's making it difficult for guys like Quentin Moore, and now Quentin gonna try and thread the needle on the middle line to try and get through. He gets by Seth Cole, but can he go by Lisa Nelson well enough? Looks like he will. Or I might have spoke too soon. No, he will. Meanwhile, the top 4 have pretty much broken away, and like I said, this is basically a team versus team scenario. Shadow Cold versus Young Motorsports. 2 Shadow Cold, 2 Young Motorsports. But right now, Jacobs still hanging on just barely, and now Fitzwater, look at him go. He's going to try and take second away from his teammate Collins. The Daytona 500 winner feels, you know what? I want to win on dirt. I'm going to take it no matter what I do.
And he gets past his teammate. Wow.
Meanwhile, Jordan Forbes may be buying his time and maybe trying to conserve a little bit in hopes that he can really use his stuff up here towards the end of the race, in hopes he can get back to the lead. Now, meanwhile, Quentin Moore and Daniel DK have finally gotten away from the lap traffic, and now Riley Henry is about to do the same to get by all the chaos that's going on. But if you think it's chaotic back here, it's still chaotic up here with the top 4 pretty much in a train formation, battling it out. And Forbes looking to go to the inside of Collins. Couldn't quite make it stick there in 1 and 2. Can he go for it in 3 and 4? Yes, he's going to. Looks like Collins might have used up all he had. And now he's starting to fade a little bit. Meanwhile, I was double checking to see if any lap times have been broken, but no, none yet. But Dylan Jacobs, ever since he took the lead, he's been able to maintain it fairly well, but it's not been easy, as you can tell. He's got 3 other drivers right there on his ass trying to go for it. And Zachary Fitzwater, who's been very determined to try and get yet another win before we move into Season 11, considering, like I said, after he won the Daytona 500, it was like he just could not catch a break afterwards, and it ended up causing him to fall out of the top 30 and end up having to be a go-or-go homer for the majority of the season. Alright, but right now, strong run going in second, but he wants to perhaps go for the win, but Jordan Forbes, he wants to go for it as well, or at the very least try and make it a 1-2 finish for the Shadow Cold team. And he seems like he's got something for at least a 12. I don't know if he's got anything for Dylan Jacobs, but I've been wrong before. And we'll see. But Jacobs just doing a good job of holding everybody back. As Mitchell Collins, yeah, I can definitely tell Collins has used up pretty much everything he's got, because now he's starting to get a little bit tight in corner entry. At least in 3 and 4. 1 and 2 it seems like he's okay, but 3 and 4 he's struggling a little bit. So we're going to be coming to 6 to go here at Oswego. Time running out for drivers to try and do something up here to defeat the 41. Jordan Forbes was faster than everybody up here in the top 4, trying to get around the 12 of Fitzwater, but Fitzwater is just not playing easy with him. And speaking of Forbes, he just broke the fastest lap again at 21.495 a couple of laps ago. So he's still flying. Meanwhile, I'm looking around the field to see if there's any commotion going on, and while they're double wide pretty much all throughout the field, not really a whole lot to report on. Meanwhile, battle on for the 6th spot. Riley Henry wants it from Daniel DK, but they're still going at it. Then right behind that, side by side for 8th between Belding and Kyle, which is actually helping for Daniel Voiles to kind of close in onto that battle. Meanwhile, Fitzwater took that corner really tight, which that's going to help Jacobs kind of pull away just a tad from the 12. Meanwhile, Forbes still running fast. Maybe Mitchell Collins still has a bit of something, but time is running out as we got 2.5 laps to go here at Oswego. And Dylan Jacobs, just nobody's been able to challenge him since the restart. 2 to go now. Although Fitzwater tried right there in corner entry in turn 1, and he is about a half a car length behind. Who knows if he's got one final grasp of a run left as we're getting ready to take the white flag. White flag is out here in the NAPA Auto Parts 400 for Dylan Jacobs to go for win number 2 this season. And he's just trying to hope and pray and hold everybody back, and I think he might be able to do it, but crazier things have happened. So far, so good.
He's got this.
He's got his checkered flag waving. Dylan Jacobs wins his 2nd race of the season, and he gets it here in the NAPA Auto Parts 400 at Oswego, becoming the 5th driver this season to win multiple races. What a performance by that 41 car. Once he got up to the front, he was just... While, yeah, he had to be a bit nervous because everybody was still right there on him, he still managed to hold everybody back and get that 2nd win. But let's look at the rest of the results. Zachary Fitzwater, his best finish since winning the Daytona 500 back at the very beginning of the season. Great performance in that 2nd spot. Jordan Forbes, who dominated a portion of the race, comes out with a strong 3rd place run. And how about Mitchell Collins? 2nd race in a row, getting a top 5 as he finishes in the 4th position. And then Quentin Moore with a great run in 5th to round out the top 5. Riley Henry continuing a bit of a points resurgence as he finishes in 6th. Same going for Daniel DK in 7th. As well as Charles Belding in 8th. Kyle Matthews, he could possibly move himself into the top 3 in the standings with that 9th place run. And then Daniel Voiles rounding out the top 10 in the 10th spot. Then there is your top 20, top 30, and then the bottom 5 for this week were William Brock, Seth Cole, Jessica Shelton, Lindsey Snyder, and Raphael Fireblade. But that does it for our coverage here tonight for the NAPA Auto Parts 400 at Oswego. I'd like to thank Riley Henry for stopping by the booth.
No problem. It was a pleasure to be here.
And with all that said, here is Dylan Jacobs' victory burnout, as well as the point standings heading into the next race of the Northeastern Swing, which will be at Lime Rock Park, the road course. But until then, this is Levi McIntyre, signing off.